gets up from his seat to ask Oyamada to return her book. Oyamada is surprised that a nobody like Mimori would dare stand up to him. However, just as he is about to start bullying Mimori as well, the class Chad Takutu speaks up and tells Oyamada to quiet down. Oyamada tries to appeal to Takutu and says he wants to teach Mimori his place as a background character, but Takutu doesn't intend to let that happen. To be clear, he doesn't care about Mimori at all, or Sogu for that matter. He just doesn't want Oyamada to cause any more trouble because it's annoying to listen to. Oyamada doesn't like it, but since Takutu is the alpha, he has no choice but to listen to him and settle down. Oyamada returns Sobu's book and sits back down. But since he needs to keep himself entertained, he quietly starts bullying the kid across from him, Yasu. The teacher finally speaks up and tells Oyamada to quit messing with Yasu. He doesn't really care, but if Oyamada bullies Yasu so much that he ends up jumping off a bridge, then he won't get his yearly bonus. But if Yasu wants to jump off a bridge after his bonus, then the teacher has no problem with it as long as he does a flip. Things get quiet on the bus after that, but then all the students are suddenly transported into a room where they are greeted by the goddess Vicious. She explains that her kingdom, Alien, summons brave warriors to have them fight the evil demon emperor every time he appears. The last time the demon emperor showed up was 200 years ago, and he was thankfully defeated by the valiant efforts of the previous heroes. However, the great emperor has they captured. She knows Kobato hasn't been able to complete the assignment the goddess gave them, so she prepared things to make it easier for her. Now all she needs to do is kill the defenseless monster, and Asagi urges her to do it unless she wants to end up getting disposed of like Mimori. Kobato doesn't want to do it, but she knows she has no choice, so she sucks up her morals and slays the monster. Asagi praises Kobato for doing a good job and says she is officially part of the group, but Kobato is still struggling to accept what she just did. Elsewhere, Sogu has just woken up from her coma, and the pain in her stomach reminds her of what must have happened to Mimori after the goddess gut punched her, and she feels really guilty for not being able to stop it. Sogu goes on to complain to Vicious, and Vicious is really trying to play the part of a caring goddess with all the fake tears, but she says the disposal of the weak is the policy of the Alien Kingdom, so there's nothing she can do about it. Vicious also informs Sogu that she doesn't have much time to wallow in sadness over it either, since while she was knocked out, her classmates headed out to the forest to see if they were able to kill monsters or not, and many of them ended up failing the requirements of the test, thus were disposed of. Sogu asks if Vicious intends to kill off any heroes who she deems to be weak, but Vicious claims it's Allian's policy, so it's not her fault even though she's a literal goddess. Sogu sees how things are going, so she wants to make it clear to Vicious that she doesn't approve of how things are being handled. Vicious doesn't see what the problem is, since it's common sense that all the worthless people should be disposed of, so Sogu asks Vicious if she is a valuable hero since she is S-class. Vicious answers that Sogu is indeed very valuable, so Sogu proposes a deal. She will go above and beyond as an S-rank hero to make up for the weaknesses of the people who failed, so she asks that Vicious stop the disposal plan. Vicious says she can agree to those terms, so she extends her hand to make it official. She also wants to apologize for punching Sogu in the stomach, but she still thinks she was justified in doing so since Sogu was acting hysterical over the situation. Sogu clearly isn't fooled by Vicious's nice act, but she's got no other choice at the moment, so she agrees to shake her hand. But as she leaves, and notes that only his mana is exceptionally high at 50,000, while the rest of his stats hover around 5k. But he already knew that, so he really wants to confirm the new abilities he got with his skills leveling up. He is now able to dispel paralyze and poison at will, or partially dispel it just to avoid killing his target immediately. That's going to be pretty useful when it comes to extracting information, so he decides to test it out on the next monster he encounters. For now, he's going to need a blade, or more specifically, someone who can act as a tank and handle the front lines for him. Just then, he hears some rustling in the bushes, so he goes over to check it out and finds a bunch of slimes ganging up on a single smaller slime, and he decides they all threaten to kill Mimori, but Mimori just raises his hand and paralyzes them all. He then inflicts poison on them, and it feels oddly satisfying to eliminate scumbags when he gets the chance. After the scumbags are dead, Mimori continues his venture into the ruins, but before he heads to the next level, he decides to take a little break. 3 hours later, Mimori wakes up from his nap and thanks Pigimuru for being a lookout in case any monsters showed up. He exits the room to head to the next floor, but before he can do that, he runs into a team of mercenaries and they tell him to be careful since there's a lot of strange stuff happening in these ruins. People have been coming across a lot of monster corpses,